Welcome back, guys, to the #1 podcast in the home service industry, the Service Business Audit, Episode 8. Today we have on Home Service Sam, aka Sam Arnold, aka my brother, aka my business partner. Welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Glad to be here, Max. Glad to be here. Another day,
This
another
is
day in paradise.
this is long overdue, long overdue. Sam, I have a lot of questions for you. We're going to be doing kind of an interview style / back and forth video about how we grew our cleaning company together. Let's start where it all began, Sam. When it first started, walk me through what it was like starting a cleaning company, what your initial struggles are, what your concerns were when you were first starting this business with me.
Yeah. Well, when we first started, I was fresh out of college, just graduated. You were still in college. And there was a lot of different struggles. You know, there's people pushing me in different directions. Sam, you got to get a normal job. You're not making money. But, you know, you can't listen to that. So, you know, we started the business. We struggled. There was definitely a struggle. I mean, I struggled, you know, just trying to figure out what to do. We had no guidance. You know, we had really not much advice from anybody other than some stuff on the internet. And, you know, we grinded, and it eventually worked. But there's definitely a lot of trials and tribulations through the process. Almost quit at many points.
Yeah.
A lot of people telling me to get a job, you know, but can't do that in entrepreneurship. Got to keep going. So
I remember back in the day, that was like your biggest, I guess, struggle, concern. And you did get a job at one point for a short
Yep.
period of time, but and I kind of dealt with that too, but not as much as you because you just graduated school. I was still in school, so like college was my excuse to like not get a job and I could try things and take risks. But when you were starting, there was a lot of pressure to get a job, especially 2, 3, 4 months in with little to no profit. You know, we got bills to pay, expenses, etc.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that and just block out the noise and just say, we're going to figure this out?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, especially when it's coming from your parents for the most part, you know, telling you to get a job. And I think a lot of young guys deal with that too in entrepreneurship, like your parents telling you, hey, just get a normal job. It's, you know, it's not going to work out. Most of the time because they don't understand entrepreneurship, or maybe they've, you know, worked a job when they were young and they didn't maybe not believe in you. But you got to block out the noise. How did I block the noise? Just basically seeing the revenue, you know, slowly grow. Even though it wasn't much when we were making much money, like you saw the vision, you see customers coming in. I mean, like you said, like I did get a job at one point in the beginning just because of that, those external voices in your head. And, you know, we still kept working, but, you know, you have to just like use every client and every, you know, conversation you have with a lead or whatever as motivation, knowing that, okay, we just got a new bi-weekly, we just got a new monthly, revenue's slowly growing. Yeah, we're not making money, but clearly there's something here, and clearly, you know, we're able to grow. If you're able to get one client, you're able to get 100 clients. So it's just like using that as motivation and as fuel to just, you know, keep grinding.
Yeah. And we started getting traction. We started making more sales, making more recurring clients. And we didn't even get a virtual assistant. We were handling all the sales calls for the first 12, probably 15 months in the business. What would you say, especially we had very little sales skills, what would you say was the most important thing you learned in the sales process, like on the phone with these leads, to close these leads? How did that help you with closing more clients?
Yeah, we had no sales experience. We never really ever did sales, so you kind of figured out as you go. But there's a lot of different things that affect the sales call, and a lot of different problems that a bunch of people have, because we've spoken to a lot of cleaning business owners, new cleaning business owners too, who, you know, don't understand the sales process. And whenever I tell people, you know, how to do it, there's a bunch of different ways. So like, it's all about, in the beginning, obviously gathering information, building that confidence. So you know, you want to be friendly, you want to be energetic on the phone. You don't want to, you know, really welcoming, because as you know, cleaning is extremely personal. You know, we're in their home, we're cleaning, all of their prized possessions are there, their families are there, their kids are there. So it's very personable. So you want to sound personable, you want to be energetic, happy, answer the phone with a smile. And then in the beginning of the sales process, that information gathering. Okay, first name, last name, getting their home information. And then you want to ask conditional questions. And every single thing you ask leads up to the final pitch. It's building that rapport. It's instilling confidence in the client, in the lead, that, hey, okay, these guys are official. They're not just asking, a couple house questions and then giving them a price immediately. You want to build it up. You have to flow through the conversation. So we get the conditional questions. We ask if there's pets in the home. We dig deeper if something sounds weird. And you're also very friendly too. Like, one thing that I always try to do, and I know you try to do as well, is find any certain way to build connections. So if they mention anything about dogs, oh, I love dogs. What kind of dog do you have? And that it's just another way to build connection with the client, and it really helps out with the sales call by the end. And then, we're gathering this information, we're doing our discovery, we're figuring out every single thing about them, and then from there, okay, we know what they need, and if they try to take control, oh, this is what I need, I want a standard cleaning. You need to take control of the conversation, and by the pitch, that's when we're telling them, okay, this is what they need. So we do our whole pitch. It's not just like hey, the price is $150. We explain the cleaning a little bit. We kind of mold that pitch towards what they need and what they've talked about. Maybe they're moving in, maybe they're parent, maybe their dad died or something, they're doing a move out clean, whatever it is. You mold the pitch and bring that all in the pitch, and then you present the discount and the price. And then you obviously wait for feedback and see what they say and fight those objections. But every single piece of data that you gather leading up to the pitch is going to be extremely important in the end in actually closing the client. I know that was a long answer. There's so many different aspects to it.
That's great. I want to touch up on one thing. When we first started, and I mentioned this earlier, we took sales calls for the first 15, 20 months in the business. Probably 2 years in the business. And we've done this for every business we've started. Like, whether it's Clean Genie, whether it's Schedule Rep, we started off taking the sales, handling the customer support, and then slowly outsourcing. But I do see a lot of people getting into the cleaning industry month 1, month 2, month 3, oh, I need a VA. And there are some people who legitimately actually do need a VA because maybe they have a full-time job or other responsibilities, whatever that is. But how important was it for you, for us, when we were first starting, handling the hiring process, handling the sales process, handling the follow-up process, building these connections with these customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most important things you can do, because a lot of people, like you said, just outsource to a VA immediately. Sometimes there's reasons for it, but sometimes it's just because maybe they just they want them to handle it, and they think it's like an automated business. But you have to be in the business in the beginning. You need to understand every single aspect of the business. You need to know even how to clean a property. I mean, we've gone and cleaned Airbnbs or whatever before, when things have happened. So you need to know every single angle of the business. So from taking sales calls to handling customer support and all that stuff, it's one of the most important things you do. If you outsource immediately, it's just hard to train them. They don't understand exactly the business. They don't understand the sales call. They don't really understand. You don't understand it either. So you can't just outsource it, because you don't even know anything. The VA is not going to know anything, and it's just going to really hurt your business in the beginning. Max,
Yeah.
repeat part of that question. I forgot.
No,
I think I missed
you
some
answered.
of that.
You answered the whole thing. And I would say, you definitely can outsource what you don't know or don't understand. And I don't blame a lot of the people. I think a lot of the information they're getting online kind of sways them into believing, because they are listening to people who are a year, 2 years, 3 years in the business who do have a VA, and talking about what they have their VA doing. So they think that's just the immediate path to go down. But it takes time. And you definitely need to have systems in place, processes in place to hire a VA. And for people who are listening, who don't know much about Sam and what he actually does a lot for our cleaning company. But one of his specialties, in my opinion at least, from watching you work, is you're really good at building systems. You're really good at automations. You're really technical. So I want to, and he built basically the entire Clean Genie package originally just for our cleaning company. But I want to touch up upon how important has automations been for our business, and what are your favorite automations as well?
Yeah, so automations are definitely huge. And even the backtrack before that, though, Before we get into automations, I want to add in a couple things about when you are first starting. A lot of people always say, "Oh, I need to automate my business. I need to do this, that, and make sure that all this is automated." But you do not want to automate in the beginning, in my opinion. You want to do the follow-ups yourself. You want to, speak to clients after the cleaning's done and get reviews and try to convert to recurring. You never want especially in cleaning, you don't want to go fully automated because you're just going to lose customers. You're not going to build good rapport with your clients in the beginning. You're not going to convert one time to recurring if you're just relying on automations. You're not going to get reviews if you're just relying on automations. So in the beginning, like you're saying, you want to be very, very hands-on with all this stuff so you can build, a really good foundation. And then from there, once you have growth, you can really start automating. I don't think we automated anything for like maybe
Yeah.
8 months, like eight
And
months or
I
so.
think I totally agree. I think there are some automations that are really good even in the beginning, and there's definitely some automations that are really only good when you're doing volume. I
Yeah.
would say this is some things that I would recommend automating for anyone listening in the beginning, no matter what stage you're at. Little things like number one, just automating like a save contacts app here. You get a phone
Yep.
call in, um, you get a phone call from your Google business and you quote them in Booking Koala, or you quote them or you save a booking in Booking Koala, whatever that is, automatically have a zap to save that contact and the information in your open phone or Ring Central, whatever you're using. Another thing I would recommend automating is schedule notifications. In Schedule Drop, we have notifications to remind clients, to remind customers, to remind clients and to remind providers and also admins of cleans. So reminding customers 24 hours before the cleaning is coming up, 1 hour before the cleaning is up, sending a review link after the cleaning. Same thing with providers, reminding providers 24 hours, 1 hour when they're assigned to a job, as well as just reminding admin, like when a provider clicks on the way, so they know that the
Yeah.
provider is actually on the way to the job. So those are like simple things I would automate. I would stay away from trying to convert one times into recurring off the rip via automations.
Yeah.
Follow ups like how is the cleaning going off the rip. I would do a lot of that manual. But
Yeah. And
what would you say about that?
yeah, no, I agree. And I think once you do get like once you understand the business, maybe you're like 5, 6 months in, you can start. I mean, you can do it earlier, but you can start getting into some more advanced automations. For example, some of my favorite are the quoted follow-up automation. But we do. It's not just the automation alone, too. We combine it with personal follow-ups too. So, for example, in Schedule Drop, when we save a quote, that's going to automatically get added into Clean Genie into the quoted follow-up automation. That's going to then automatically send messages to that lead every single day, trying to get them to book your service. If they don't respond to that first automation, it goes into a secondary automation. If they still don't book from there, it goes into a long-term nurture. But throughout this entire process, we're not just letting the automation handle everything, we're also manually calling them. We're not doing a lot of manual texting because that's handled in the automation, but we're calling them, we're following up, and we're trying to get them to convert in the meantime. So it's a combination of both. So quoted is one of my favorite. Another one of my favorites would be the one-time cleaning completed automation. I do love that one because sometimes over time, one-time clients get lost, not lost, but the follow-up 30, 60 days after it gets a little tricky. So the way we have it set up is when a one-time cleaning is saved, it's added into Clean Genie automatically. And then from there, it's going to wait 30 days and then follow up with a one-time customer, seeing if they want to use our services again. And there's other automations too. I do love the after cleaning reach out. We don't just rely on that. We always call after a one-time cleaning is completed, but sometimes you can't always, make the call. Maybe you're busy with something, so that goes into the after cleaning reach out, asks how their service is, and it tries to get a review depending on the satisfaction, whether they're happy or not. Specific things happen. So those are some of my favorite ones. I mean, there's a million automations that we run. We send reactivation blasts every, month or two to past customers and past leads. But the quoted is probably my number one favorite automation, but you have to mix that with manual follow-ups too.
Yeah, you can't get lazy. It's really easy to get lazy when you have automations thinking like an SMS message is going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. You need to manually call these clients, get them back on the phone. Preferably the same person who closed them should be the one to do the follow-ups. Now, I received a message from someone who joined our Mop to Millions free community. I'll put the link in the description below. This morning, who has 1 to 2 cleaners, and he said, I'm really struggling like getting my first clients. And I asked, what's he doing for lead gen? He said he's doing Thumbtack, which is expensive, as well as like posting in Facebook groups. What would you recommend for someone just starting and trying to generate leads with their business, trying to just get some traction going and some movement?
Yeah. Well, just to start off before that, like even with Thumbtack, if you get a lead in there and you don't know how to work the lead or do a sales call, it's gonna be hard to get a client. So number one, make sure you understand the sales process. You have a good script that you follow. Maybe you use a script from Opta Millions. Maybe you have your own script and a good follow-up nurturing process. Make sure that's at least partially dialed in, because you can get leads, but if you don't know how to work them, you're not going to close a client. Now, Thumbtack, like you said, is a little expensive. I'm not the biggest fan of Thumbtack. It works in some areas. It doesn't work in others. So it also depends on your budget too. Obviously, the number one to just get calls as fast as possible would be Google LSA. A lot of people know about it. It's very expensive depending on your area. But if you have a good sales process, you will get a client through there and it will get the ball rolling. There's a couple other options. Facebook groups are great. You have to obviously constantly post in the groups. Nextdoor, post in Nextdoor. You can also, there's always people posting in Nextdoor asking for cleanings. If you're on there and you get notified, you have notifications set up, you can respond immediately and get some clients there potentially. You can also, if you want to go a different route, you can go door to door to apartment complexes and try to get your flyers in complexes. That's a great one. You can do door hangers. Some apartment complexes don't allow it, but you can get in there and hang door hangers. That's one of the lower cost things to do. Your only cost is obviously buying them. But my favorite way to get a client as fast as possible is really always going to be Google LSA. That's the quickest way. You can also run Facebook ads, but you need a little bit more experience. You need to understand ads. The easiest would be LSA.
Yeah, and what people also need to understand, and for people who don't understand actually, Google LSA, because he didn't know what it was this morning, so I'm sure some people listening don't understand what it is. Google LSA allows you to put your business at the top of Google, and they can only call you. They can't message you. Well, you should turn off messaging. They actually could message you, but it's mostly for people who want to call a cleaning company, and it's going to put you at the top regardless of how many reviews you have, right? If people are searching house cleaning near me and you don't have 100 200 reviews in your area, you're not going to rank high and you're not going to get a lot of organic calls. So LSA puts you at the top. And what I would say to people who are just starting, I would never encourage someone to get into credit card debt, but I would encourage some people, if they don't have the funds for advertisements, to test it, maybe use $500, $1,000, whatever you're comfortable losing, and seeing if you could just break even off that. Being profitable would be great. I've always been somewhat profitable with LSA off the first month, but if you could convert a few of those leads into recurring, that's when you're really going to profit, and then you could continue just stacking on recurring revenue, continue reinvesting that back into ad spend. As long as you're consistent with it too, LSA will realize that and push your company at the top consistently. Sam, just to change the subject a little bit, let's talk about high quality cleaners, hiring cleaners. What's your favorite process to hiring, testing cleaners, ensuring they're loyal, ensuring they're high quality cleaners, ensuring they're someone you would want to clean your own home?
100%. So my favorite place to hire cleaners, we've tested everything. We've tested posting in Facebook groups, posting in Nextdoor, looking for cleaners. But what's worked 100% of the time is Indeed. Cleaners are always on Indeed. It's probably my favorite place to hire cleaners. Now, it does cost you money to obviously post every day, but you're going to get high quality applicants. And then from there, there's a couple different steps to the process. You obviously want to flow them through, your hiring pipeline. We have a hiring pipeline in Clean Gene that we use, but you don't have to even use that. You can keep it simple. Go into the applicant's profile, look at their information, how much experience they have, what they write about it, how well do they answer maybe any questions that you put within there. If you like what you see, maybe they have a couple years of experience, they have good supplies, they've worked in every industry, then give them a call, talk to them on the phone, and then schedule an interview. You always want to do an interview. You want to see what they look like, because somebody can have a great application on Indeed, but then you might get in an interview and you never know, they might look like a drug addict or something. So
they might actually be a drug addict.
They might be a drug addict. So keep that in mind. Like, you can really get anything on Indeed, but you're gonna want to get an interview. Google. What were you saying? You're gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say, like, and we're not judging by looks. Like, we'll hire anyone. It doesn't matter how you look, like from a cosmetic appearance, but from, like, you could tell if someone is put together, if someone could have a conversation, if someone is on any substances, because believe it or not, you will have people on substances, and I've had test cleans with people who have been on substances in the past. Obviously, you don't want to send those people into actual clients' homes. So that's the importance of getting onto face-to-face. And you could also see if they're lying about experience. You would question them about the types of cleans they've had, like how they would start a specific house if they were going into a 2-2. Like, what's the first thing you would typically do? Have you cleaned Airbnbs? What's your process for cleaning an Airbnb? And one thing, too, for people who are struggling with hiring cleaners is I will find cleaners almost weekly, just like either pulling up on the side of the road, and I'll just literally pull up behind them, get out, see if they're looking for more work. And that's the best way to meet cleaners, because you're able to see their supplies, you're able to meet them face to face, you're able to see that they actually show up to the place when they're supposed to be, and they're actively cleaning. And also, like, when I was in college, I remember I would see people who are working like janitorial, commercial work, and I would go up to all of the cleaners and see if they're interested in more residential. If they did residential, I would give them my card and let them know, we're always hiring high quality cleaners. So you just gotta look; they're out there. I mean, I've been kicked out of hotels for trying to poach 5-star cleaners before. I was recently kicked out of a showing for a house we were looking at renting because I talked to the cleaner in the driveway. Should I tell them about that story?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
So the other day I was, and you know this, but the other day I was going to look at a house because me and Sam were gonna rent a new house, and there was an Airbnb. There was a cleaner in the driveway, so I just went up to their cleaner and I was like, hey, if you're looking for more work, here's my business card. Happy to work with you and give you an interview and see if we could work together. Apparently, the homeowner didn't like that too much, thinking we're gonna steal the cleaner. They'll never be able to work at that house again. And he opened doors like, what are you doing? I'm like, just talking to cleaners. Everything okay? He's like, no, get out of here. I'm not interested anymore. Which I was so thrown off by because I didn't felt like I did anything wrong. Anyways, funny story, but I didn't end up renting that house. Obviously, I just left. But the point is, if you see cleaners, maybe not every time you should talk to them, but for the most part, you should go up to them, give them your card, give them your information, see if they're interested in more work.
Yeah.
Once you do find the cleaner, Sam, what's the next step?
Yeah, so there's a million different ways, like Max said, to find cleaners. You can do all different things. But you do your interview on Google Meet or Zoom or whatever. You could do it in person, but it's really not efficient to do it that way. So I recommend doing it on Google Meet or something like that. They look good. You like their answers. You like their responses. They seem like they'd be a good fit for your company. The first thing you're going to want to do is a test clean. Like Max just said, we had a test clean, just clean our office. And we didn't follow our test clean rules to the full extent, but you want to do a test clean. This could be at your house or a friend's or family's house, but you want the cleaner to not realize it's a test clean. You don't really, if you do it at your own place, don't let them know that you're the owner. You want to pretend like you're a normal customer. So you have them clean wherever your friends or family or yours. Obviously inspect the condition when they're cleaning, but there's a couple of things you want to look for when they first arrive. How are they when they open the door? Do they open with a smile? Do they seem friendly? Are they talkative? They might not speak English. If they're Spanish, no problem, but they'll have a smile on their face. See, their demeanor there. Take a look at their supplies. How are their supplies? Do they have a good vacuum? Do they have a new mop? Is the mop dirty? Do they have good supplies? Do they have maybe a little carrying wagon or something for their supplies? You want to look at all of this stuff because all these different factors will show you if they are a good cleaner or not. If a cleaner has really good supplies and good equipment, they care about their work and they care about the job they're doing, and they're probably going to do a good job, during the cleaning.
And of course, you want to examine the cleaning as well. And one thing too, I know Sam mentioned we didn't. What do you mean by we didn't fully do the test clean?
Yeah. So after the cleaning's done, examine the cleaning, see how it is. But before they leave, you always want to ask them, hey, who should I reach out to schedule my next cleaning? And you'd be surprised because this could go a lot of different ways. They just started working for your company, but a lot of them have bad intentions. So they may say, oh, here's my business card. Reach out to me directly. You can schedule with me. You don't have to go to the company. And then right there and then, okay, then maybe they did a great cleaning. This sucks, but you can't use them moving forward because they're going to try to steal all of your clients. But if they say, oh, reach out to the company, that you can schedule your next booking with them, then they pass the test. They did a good job. You can see they're most likely trustworthy. You never know. They might try to do that in the future, but you can trust them for now in the meantime. And I don't know if you want to go into it, Max, but obviously we did another test clean the other day, and she failed the test right in front of our face.
Yeah, so she was great actually. Well, at first she was great. She had great supplies, did a decent job cleaning. Could have been a better cleaning as once we did a deeper examination of like the apartment. But
Yeah.
at the end, I kind of poached a little bit. I'm like, hey, how could I book for the next cleaning? And she was like, oh, you could go through me, and here's my business card, and there's two numbers on here, one for me, one for my sister. Make sure to call this one, not this one. And then before she left again, she came up to me and was like, remember this, call this number. And so, like, obviously, we're never going to work with that lady again. So it's really important to do so, or you're going to be spending, especially if you're running ads, you need to convert to recurring. And if your cleaners are taking those recurring clients, you're never going to make money and you're never going to be able to scale. So it's really important.
Yeah.
I didn't actually, we had a test clean today. I didn't ask her if who I should go to. One, mostly just because she didn't speak any English. So it would have been very difficult for me to even communicate with her because I don't speak the best Spanish. But usually, most of our cleaners speak certain English or English to a certain extent. And in that case, I would ask them. But for this one, I didn't really ask her. But she did a great job cleaning and had pretty good supplies. So we'll be
Yeah.
using her in the future.
Yeah, we're also on the podcast, so we can really
That as
couldn't
well.
ask her to that.
Sometimes I
Um,
would pull out Google Translate and talk to her through that. But
yeah.
yes.
I wanted to touch up on a couple of things on like people who are just starting, or maybe people who have like been in the industry. Obviously, a lot of different people are, all age types are in the cleaning industry. And some people think like not having, some people are on a low budget and they don't want to pay for software. I want to ask you, Max, I know this is your podcast, but what would you say to people who are in the cleaning business maybe and they don't have a scheduling software? Maybe they have a couple clients, but they talk about scaling, they want to scale, and then maybe you talk to them about software, maybe they want to learn about software, but they don't feel comfortable making that leap. Maybe they don't have the money to do it. Maybe they're just like, they don't understand technology yet and they don't think that's a good idea or whatever it is. What would you say like to people who don't want to take that leap into getting a scheduling software or any type of software?
That's a good question. Okay, so if you're an individual cleaner and you really don't care about scaling and you want to stay cleaning homes yourselves and you have a decent amount of clientele, I would say that person probably doesn't need a scheduling software. But for anyone else who has any hope of scaling their company and wants to hire cleaners and wants to grow their business and wants to, make that 10K magical a month number in profit, you need to have a scheduling software. And if you're going to cheap out on a scheduling software, whether it's $100 a month, $200 a month, $300 a month, whatever it is, I don't think you should be so fixated on the price of a software that you're going to run your entire business from. For example, Schedule Drop is $97 a month. You're going to run your entire business from it. If you're worried about, paying $100 a month for a software that's going to run your entire business, it's going to allow you to scale, that's going to allow your customers to have a positive experience because they're going to be automatically notified. You're going to have an organized calendar. Your cleaners are going to have all their information. You'll be able to see photos. And regardless if it's Schedule Drop or if it's another software, you got to make the investment. I mean, you can't cheap out on the number one thing with your company, and that's for anything. I mean, if you look at, I've worked with people who are just starting in the business all the way to people who are doing 500K a month in another industry. And the biggest thing I've noticed about people who are super, super successful is like, they don't care about the price. they'll wire you 20K if they're going to get value from it, if they think they'll make money from it. They care about what it's going to do for them. Is it going to improve their business? Is it going to fix their problem? And that's what you need to be looking for when it comes to your scheduling software. It's
Yeah.
hard for me. It's hard for me to understand because I never had that mindset, even when I was just starting. But yeah, there are some people who are worried about spending like a little bit of money on a software, and like not even. I know, of course, we're biased because we do run Schedule Job, but I highly urge you, if you want to scale, if you want to grow your cleaning business, get a scheduling software, whether it's Schedule Job, whether it's ZenMaid, whether it's BK, whether it's House Call Pro, whatever it is. Get something to run your business out of if you want to scale.
Yeah. Percent. And like we've spoken to so many business owners in the beginning who want to scale and they just don't want to invest the money. It's like it's any business you start, you need to invest something if you want to grow. And then I also want to tap into like mindset too. I wanted to talk about that because obviously in the beginning mindset is like one of the most important things. Like we were talking about before, you're not making money in the beginning. You want to grow. You want to have a business. You want quote unquote financial freedom, even though you have to work your ass off to get to that point. Mindset is probably one of the most important things that you can have when you're starting. You need to have the mindset to honestly just win and never stop. And a lot of cleaning business owners, a lot of people start cleaning businesses, but they don't really understand how hard it actually is. Like even on these online, you see all these ads. I'm sure people get ads from gurus and whatever it is saying, "Oh, start a remote cleaning business. This is, one of the easy. It's easy. They make it seem very easy, but it is very, very difficult. There's a lot of cleaning companies out there, and there's a difference between the winners and the losers in the business. And the winners spend every extra minute they have focusing on growing their business and getting clients. So if you're starting a cleaning business and you find yourself with free time during the day, maybe you're watching TV or doing something stupid, you're going to lose. Like there's a lot of people that are going to outwork you in this business. And like I just said, it's not an easy business. So you need to have the mindset to grind every single day, talk to real estate agents, go to apartment complexes, go to property managers, send out cold emails, make cold calls, run ads on different sources, invest the money. Like Max said, you don't advise getting credit card debt, but honestly, if you want to win, put yourself into credit card debt and make sure your sales process is good and you're closing clients and you're moving towards growth. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to have a successful cleaning company. Maybe you can get to 5K a month, but to get to 10K, 30K, 40K, 50K, 60K, like you need to consistently put in the work every single day for a very long period of time until you can get to the point where you can maybe relax a little bit, take your foot off the gas. Not take your foot off the gas, but have some room to breathe. So
Yeah,
like it's not an easy business by all means.
it's not. Well, I would say it's simple, but it's definitely not easy. Like it's a simple
Yes.
concept. It's not rocket
Simple.
science. We're not
Simple.
building a rocket, right? But it's definitely not easy. You're going to go through a lot of trials. You're going to go through tribulations. You're going to have stuff like you're not sure when you're going to win. It's a lot like running a marathon, but there's no end, right? You're just constantly running, constantly trying to like figure out, oh, when is this going to work? When am I going to make money? When am I going to be able to make payroll? And you have to understand that it's going to come. Eventually it will come. The only way it won't come is if you stop. But if you continue going and you're holding yourself accountable and you're being honest with yourself with the amount of hours you're putting into it, with how hard you're trying, with how much risk you're taking, and you don't necessarily have to put yourself into credit card debt, but you're going to have to take risk. If you're starting a business, you're going to have to take some level of risk. Cleaning companies is a relatively low level of risk compared to any other business. But the point is, you have to understand it's not a sprint. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's important to understand the cycles that your mind is going to go through when dealing with this, when starting a business before they happen, because then you're able to understand where you are and why you are where you are. Like when you're first starting, you have all this motivation, and it's great to have that motivation, but it's also great to understand at the beginning, okay, I'm motivated because I'm just starting and I'm creating my LLC. But this is going to end and I'm going to have to continue putting in that work when this motivation dies. And that's when the real work is going to begin.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, you
So,
couldn't have
Sammy,
said it any better.
home service Sam, okay?
They call me.
When it comes to getting out of that 10K mark to 20K mark, or let's just say when it comes from scaling from like 10K a month to getting to like 40K a month, right? What are the differences in how you're running your business? What are the differences in scaling from 0 to 10 versus like 10 to 40K a month?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, number one, when you're in the scaling process, a lot of people want to make money fast. So the second they see profits, they may start taking money. But never, you can't take your profits at the beginning. I mean, you may be tight in cash. Okay, maybe you need to take a little bit, whatever it is. You need to constantly reinvest into marketing. If you don't do that, your business is never going to grow. So, maybe you make $1,000 a second month in your business. Maybe you make more. Reinvest that all into marketing, into getting more clients. Because if you don't do marketing, you're not going to get clients and you're not going to grow. So every single month, as your revenue grows, your ad budget grows. So, I mean, I would allocate a certain percentage of your revenue to ads every single month, and that just constantly goes up and up and up and up. Obviously, you want to have a good return on your ad spend, so track your data, track your numbers. You know how much you're spending, and you know how much you're getting in return. Like Max said in the beginning of this podcast, you may not profit off the ads in that first month, but if you're converting to recurring, you're going to continue to profit in the months moving forward. So track your ad spend, make sure you know your lifetime value of your customer, and make sure you're reinvesting profit every single month. Next, systems. Constantly create systems every single month. You need to build your foundation like we always talk about. A house needs a good foundation. You need to have good systems on top of that foundation. You need to have a good hiring process. You need to have a good sales process. You need to have a killer follow-up process. The money is made in follow-ups. If you're not following up with clients, if you're losing all of your leads and they're just gone in an abyss of maybe you're using Quo or something like that and they're just gone in Quo, you don't have any tracking, you're going to be losing money. You have to follow up. You have to have an insane follow-up process. Call these leads multiple times a day. Call them until they tell you to shut up. Like, have a crazy follow-up process and continue to put the gas in marketing. So expand to different marketing channels. Whatever one is working though, put the most money into that and then keep going into other areas. We always say this, I always say this, but the more lines you have in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. If you're running 7 different marketing channels, whatever it may be, maybe you're going to have most of your money into one of them because that's producing the most. You're going to be getting your brand out in all these other different channels. You're going to be getting clients. And then what does that build? A referral market between all the clients that you do get. You're building a referral market. You make a client happy, they refer you another customer. The web continues to grow and expand, and that's how you're going to continue to grow to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K a month by doing all these different things. And then one thing that I didn't mention, obviously, is you want to make sure you have killer cleaners who are doing an awesome job, who are making sure all of your customers are happy. So then that'll help build that referral market.
Yep. And one last thing I would just say is just continue doing the basics. The second you stop doing the basics, doing the follow-ups, making sure clients are happy, converting them into recurring, making things right when they're wrong. Like if you mess up or and your cleaner doesn't show up, or if your cleaner doesn't do a great job, make it right with the client. You never want to leave off on a bad note with anyone. Just continue doing the basics as you scale, and that's gonna be exactly how you grow. Sam, we got to wrap this up. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone listening?
Don't stop playing the game. If you don't stop playing the game, you can't lose. Eventually, you'll win. So even if your brain tells you, your mindset tells you, I can't keep doing this. This doesn't make any sense. I need to do something else. Or maybe you're distracted. You see the girl in the red dress and it's pulling you into another business or something. Don't stop playing the game. Keep moving forward, and eventually you'll win.
I love it. That's great. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Episode 8 of the Service Business Audit. Thank you for coming on, Sam. We'll put links below in the description. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Peace.
See you guys. See you, Max.